What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another window shopping episode. So if you don't know what this is, first time to the channel and everything, basically we look at the Central Market and talk about the price trends of notable items. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about this month because a lot of events and patches have changed the price of a lot of things. But yeah, if you haven't caught up with that, we just look at notable items, whether you're a beginner all the way to a veteran player, returning player, and so on, and see how the price has changed because of the game. So with that said, let's talk about everything that I want to talk about. So Black Stars, this has been a trend for the past couple of years, but now it's like at its all-time low because Olvia Academy is a thing, and most people should have at least all their sovereigns, whether enhanced or not, or at least 5 out of 6 Black Stars at this point. So the progression you should be going if you are, getting your stuff for the first time is if you play Awakening, you get your Awakening and sub-weapon. If you are Succession, you get your main hand and then offhand, because those will give you the most stats for the spec you play. But anyway, let's see. Oh dear. A Tet main hand is 5 bill. This is when Olvia Academy came out. And then they gave everyone like almost 2 free pen Black Stars. And here we are. So if you're an OG player, this is like basically the same thing that happened to Dandelion weapons, Azarkas, Kuda maneuvers from back in the day, but just modern trends. But yeah, with that said, I believe if you're trying to enhance or profit, the one you should be going for is still probably offhand, simply because that one is the hardest to get in a way, because you still need the Capris and 2 of them to make your sovereign offhand. But anyway, this is literally almost double from 5 bill. So if you're enhancing for profit, what I would do is go to Tet and then sell it. Most of the time you probably will not be profiting off of it, but I do believe this is pretty good if you're trying to build a fail stack and just going for Tet. Probably build like a 250. I would start getting nervous around 300, but I've seen people push like, upper 200 stacks, probably like 280, and then just off of Tet alone. But you never know. If it goes, you probably lose money, but this is the one where you at least make something back out of it. All right, so anyway, with that said, maybe one day at the Heidel Ball coming out next month, they are going to be addressing the problem we have with Fallen God armors. So I've talked about this multiple times over the course of a couple of, like, at least a year at this point, where I believe that the pity for all, or like the Agris for pity, should be cut in half across the board all the way up into Tet. So like from here, I think if you cut it in half to like 20, 30 at this point, even then that's still pretty high, but I think it's a reasonable change, so people at the mid game are able to actually get to the end game. Because once you get to the end game at Edania, stats are important because you want to fight the next boss, like whatever weekly you have. So that one is gated by, do you have tri armors to at least do Etherean, and then going forward, you do need more DP, which is... The DP is not the important part when you're grinding. It's meeting that hard requirement check to do the future bosses to upgrade your gear and everything. So yeah, I hope they address it going forward for the mid-game players, and how you would do it. Cut the Agris in half, and maybe make the maximum for those silent fragments or whatever the things that endgame players grind, like these things. Yeah, we can cut those in half as well, because I mean the silent ones, these are slightly cheaper than using Cron stones, but like very marginally cheaper if you're buying this under maximum. And then these, I don't even know about these, to be honest. Like it just does not seem worth it, but it's been so long. Anyway, until then, you kind of just have to power through it and hope for the best. if you were self-enhancing it, here's what I would do. Pry to base to pry, 80 to 100 stack. Pry to duo, like 120 to 150. Duo to try, 150 up to 200. And try to tet, because the price gap between 60 to 200 bill is kind of a lot. I would probably hit it on like a 250 plus stack. The three out of 4 of my Fallen God armor pieces I hit on a 245. Well, 245 to 250. And then the fourth one just didn't go, and it went on like a 270. So yeah. Anyway, I see a lot of people trying to enhance these for profit. Yeah, it's not really profit, to be honest, unless you tap it. I think someone did the math on it at like 8 billion or 7 billion for the stones, and calculated a stack of like a 250 plus stack, and then taxes. Unless you're hitting it under like 15 taps, you're not profiting. It's like either breaking even or losing. I don't know that exact math, but that's what I've heard. Anyway, that's how to fix it in case Prolibus. Like literally everyone knows how to fix the problem except for Prolibus. So there it is. Anyway, next is accessories. So what we're going to be talking about is Deboreka's, pre-owns for life skillers, and everyone else. Okay, so in order of progression, what you should be doing is necklace first, simply because it gives straight up the most AP, and then followed by rings or belt, because those give the second most. I do believe belt is probably a little bit cheaper. We're talking about Debos, I'm just showing you the slot for it, but belt next, because you only need 1 instead of 2. Having 2 of them makes it a little bit more expensive because of supply and demand. And then earrings always going to be last. So with that said, let's check out the Debo prices at 130 and 20. So there's a question has been like a universal hot topic. Is it better to buy or enhance your Deboreka and exchange it for Karazad? The answer is really, if you are playing efficiently, you should buy it and then exchange it at pen. Simply because you skip the entire fail stacking process, you skip the entire enhancing RNG. However, here's the problem. Telling like a mid-game player to just save up to like 200 billion per piece is very difficult. And like, there's so many things you are just thinking you can get. If you don't do that, like people think, oh, I can get this in under pity, and I don't know, it depends. RNG is an RNG thing. So the smart play is to buy it and exchange. The fun strat is to enhance it yourself. And yeah, so it's really difficult. Just a lot of people say, oh, just save up and buy it. But you're literally telling a person who's probably making like 1 to 3 billion silver an hour, and minus other stuff they need to do, to just save up 50 hours of grinding or more just to buy one piece of gear that puts them like up like one bracket. That's not exactly the most fun thing to do. So yeah, like if you're an end game player, I would say yeah, you can make 200 bill in like 2 weeks, but as a mid game player, you are not making that, I am pretty sure. So anyway, either way, necklace first. That is actually a pretty reasonable price, under 130 bill for a pen, and then exchange that one. Let me see, what is the difference between this one? Let's say 170 to 180. Chances are if you put an order at like 170, it will fill just within a day. Yeah, so whichever one is cheaper between your ring and belt slot, I would probably go, I don't know, it just really just depends which one, but you can't go wrong with rings or belt second. Then earrings are always third or final, because one, these are probably the most expensive, and also two, like these are, they don't give as much AP as the other pieces. So that's the order. Good luck on it. And I would say for most people, if you are buying it at Tet and exchanging, like a Tet Debo and exchanging for a pen Karazad, I don't think that's bad because you're making small gains at a time. You're probably going to spend a little bit more on average, but you are making incremental gains as you go to higher end grind spots instead of just doing it like going from bottom to the, like, you know, that stonks meme. Yeah, you want to make small upgrades at a time, even if it spends a little bit more, because you won't burn out on the game. That's my stance on it. Okay, next we are going to be talking about pre-owns. These are probably going to be going up a little bit, simply because, one, life skilling gathering in particular has, you know, gotten a new treasure item. People are gathering, and so I think these are going to be up in price. So let's start from the beginning. If you are thinking about where to go as a soft cap, what I look at is, you know how it gives in the tooltip life XP from here, from like 8% all the way to 12%, right? 12% is where I would say most people are at, just because this is after this one, it's all about the mastery. But if you're trying to get the XP amount, Hex is where you stop. Aside from that, yeah, it's just like up until then, whichever one, like if you don't want to spend 80 bill, just get whatever puts you into like the 10%. So it's either like try Hex, or if you got lucky in exchanging it, you can get the I think it's Oct. Is it Oct or Nav, the one you exchange if you have a pen Monos? Either way, it's super worth it. I'm pretty sure it's Nav, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, so you know the fun part about pre-owned versus Karazad? They are roughly around the same price. Getting it to deck, no matter how you enhance it or buy it. So let's say you bought a Debo and enhance it, it's probably going to cost you around the same thing of like 300, 350 billion ish. So it's just a difference. Are you a PvE or a life skiller? It's roughly the same. So that's what I would look at. In terms of order of life skilling, what you should go for, whichever one gives you the most mastery, I believe, is the one you should probably go for first. And let me look at this one. Yeah, so like 250, or actually, how much does this go up by? Yeah, so like 20, 25-ish each of them. I don't think it matters. Just get the one that's cheapest and the most mastery. So yeah, there's that. This is something I also wanted to look at. Ever since the Gathering update the other day, the price of sharps is going to be going down and then like stabilizing eventually, because they changed how the Gathering thing worked. With the fairy breath, you can no longer exchange those byproducts to the NPC, but they also raised the drop rate of sharps. To me, honestly, it felt like a little bit of a nerf, because I did a couple of hours and I was grinding for the new pieces, and like these 6 things to make the Star of Nostos, this is where I'm at right now after about like maybe 4-ish hours, and I'm still kind of collecting them over time. I am convinced this one from, what is it, Herb Gathering has a lower drop rate than the others, but I can't prove it. It's just one of those vibe feelings, but maybe some people have better data than I do. But either way, one feels like it has a lower drop rate than the others. Oh yeah, so next we're going to be talking about, you know, the price of life tools, because that has changed a lot of things. I assume everything is going to be sold out because everyone is gathering at this point. Yeah, price is all the way up. So here's the thing. The cost of Tet to Pen, assuming the worst of full 35 pity, I think this one should also be cut down from the pity as well, from 35 to maybe like 25. And I think that would be more fair. So it would cost you about 35-ish billion silver, assuming the worst. But yeah, then the max price of any Monos tool is, I think, about 26, 27 billion. Okay, 26. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, if you don't have tools for all of this and you're thinking about getting into gathering for the new treasure item, I talked about that in another video, what you should go for, but I still have a little bit more testing to do. If you want more silver, one thing we'll be talking about, I think probably fluid collecting and butcher knife are probably the two most profitable ones, and then everything else, like I like doing herb gathering and chopping trees. I don't really like tanning and mining as much, but you gotta do it for the thing eventually. So either way, it doesn't really matter. If you're just doing it for silver and profit, probably fluid collecting and gathering meats for cooking in alchemy. Next, one thing I like to look at every month is the price of shining stones, because people are still buying them like that. How much do I value these at? I think, okay, so I'm currently at 80 out of 250, and that's a 0.4 like percent. So actually, if you pity it, is the equivalent of 100%, doing the math itself. But what you are saving by buying it is time, and at 12 bill each times 250, it's about a 1 trillion silver item. It doesn't feel that bad just clicking it every week. It's just the whole time gate situation. So people who are paying the couple 100 bill extra to save that time, I think the max I would pay is probably like 1.1 to 1.2 billion. Anything above that is like, actually, I could do a lot of other things with a couple 100 billion silver. But aside from that, I just like seeing this. Protection stone is not going to get sold, I don't think so, until it goes minimum, because this one, it's not that it's bad, it's just 3 trillion silver is a lot. Same with the life stone. This one is already hard minimumed, and if someone sells it for 1 trillion, I think that's perfectly fine, to be honest. That probably equalizes with the pity cost. So yeah, buying it at 1 trillion, I don't think it's bad. It's just most people don't have that silver in general. And you know, if people stop buying them like this, it will go to minimum and you could save a couple 100 billion. But people are impatient, so here we are. Anyway, every week it goes down in price because people randomly hit it. So it is what it is. Vell's Heart, still a disaster for mid-game players who don't have it. You just have to put an order up and hope for the best. In case you didn't know, a lot of people ask, what's the best way to get a Vell? You put an order onto Concentrated Magic, because this is the one that drops directly from Vell, and most people are too lazy to craft it into the heart and sell it. And also, it's not really worth doing it because taxes will eat up any profit. And so most people who get the direct drop get the Concentrated and then just sell it from there. So it's like 16 billion versus 16 and a half. You might as well just sell it at that one. So you see how there's 17,000 trades versus 23. That's what you put an order on this one, instead of this has less orders as well. At least here on NA it does. Fun fact, most people knew that, but just in case you didn't, you put an order on this one. Bartering actually got a buff recently, and I believe of all the ships, I heard balance was actually good now. So like there's no bad ships anymore. Well, none of them were particularly bad. It was just some had more of an advantage than others. Valor is more for the PvP side of things and doing more damage, like doing your ocean dailies. Volante is the speedboat. Balance and Advance are the barter boats. I think one has more weight than the others. I haven't looked too much in detail, but I heard people saying Balance isn't even bad anymore. So that's good. Like, if there's no bad boats, just get the one you think you're going to be doing the most of. So like if you like doing bartering, like honestly all of them are good, but one has more weight versus PvPing or ocean dailies. You probably want Volante or Valor for the different ones. They're all the same price. They're at maximum at 50 billion. The hardest part is gonna get all your boat gear to blue plus 10, which you just really just need a lot of stacks for that one. So yeah. Let's see, what other things do I want to talk about today? Are any, wait, where are they? Magical, oh wait, where is it? Every week I see these and I think they're just going down in price because like they knew this was going to happen, but once you get your amplifieds, these don't really break if you die, which is actually a good thing in my opinion, but it doesn't help the market because like people just keep getting them every week, and then the less people that need it, they just kind of sit on the market. So I have a video, but here's what I have if you're thinking about doing this and you're in the mid game. Okay, so depending on where you're grinding, I would say for most people, Vicious Shadows or Target Openings are probably the two best ones if you are overcapped at a spot. If you're not overcapped at a spot and you are like, what, 20 AP off, All Out Attack Fix does that. You have to be a little bit safer because it does tank your defenses a little bit more. Otherwise, Species, depending on where you're grinding, is always a nice one. PvPers, if you're Evasion, you get this one, like the Evasion setup. If you're a DR class, which is most people, you probably get this one. If you would like to be tanky, even I as a DK, one of the squishiest classes in the game, I've noticed a huge difference using the defense all DR artifacts and straight rigid shield plus like 38, so 20 plus 18. And then this is the damage one, just straight blights and max damage with defense artifacts. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to talk about. One thing I've noticed is iridescents are like at the all-time high right now. Why? I have no idea. I think most people are getting into life skilling again, so that's why these are about 4 billion each. And I can actually tell you, so if you look at this, you'll see an iridescent stone in most of my crystal setups, or not crystals, but like light stones. Because basically every best in slot life skill requires an iridescent stone, and people are figuring this out now, while I was talking about this multiple years ago, and you know, it is what it is. So anyway, yeah, iridescence in basically everything for life skillers. So we talked about weapons, armors, accessories, life tools and clothes. Those are going up because of the changes with life skilling. Alchemy stones, that's a fun one to talk about. Ships, because bartering went up. I don't think anything changed. You know, okay, so one thing, Prolibus, if you're watching this and you're just like, if you need feedback to send to the Korean team, you see these things, the Krogdalo for the donkey gear. So anyone that's ever done the Papu and Otter Island questline, this has got to be one of the worst dailies you have to do to get donkey gear. So, you know, can we tone that down a little bit so people can get donkey gear literally for the life skill XP buff? This was awful. And if for all of you who are missing that one energy because you need to get the crab Amity, literally just invest in the node and then play the Amity game a couple times. Fixes the problem instantly. So I was doing that the other day for like energy pushing, and it was like the least fun thing I've ever done. So I figured anyone else who hasn't done it, that's my tips for you guys. Good luck. So anyway, with that said, that's all I wanted to talk about today for this month's window shopping episode. And yeah, good luck with everything, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.